Hey everybody, welcome back to the video. So today we're going to be learning about error handling in JavaScript. So before going into the video, I would appreciate you guys liking and subscribing the video and feel free to comment. So let's go into topic. So basically error handling is going to let us handle errors because the name itself kind of describes us. It's error handling, kind of like handling errors. So basically errors may occur like in your code, like runtime errors, syntax errors, logic errors, and many other errors. So to handle these, we can use try catch. And I would also mention that try catch can only handle runtime errors, and yeah, it cannot handle the syntax errors sadly. So yeah. So basically, that's how these things work. And let's see an example. So first of all, what we're gonna do is we're gonna use basically three things or so, something like that. But most of the time, these are the two common things we're gonna use. One is a try block. So I'm just gonna show you guys the syntax. Try and some code. And so basically try block is basically gonna try some code as we already know because the name itself kind of says it. But if you hover over here, catch or finally expected, because if you don't have any catch block, which is basically gonna catch the error inside the try block, if there is any wrong thing right there, it's gonna catch it. Or you can use the finally block. So this is an optional thing. That's what I'm trying to say. But it really doesn't matter. If you want, you can use the finally block, but I'm most of the time we're just gonna be using try and catch because those are both the common ones. Because if you use the try block, the except block or the catch block is guaranteed. So if without that, it's not even gonna work right here. So it literally gives an error right here. So that's what it works. So that's a bad thing. So what we're gonna do is we can use a catch block. So I'm also gonna show you guys the finally block, the statement or everything and stuff. So yeah, so inside this we can have our code. And what I also mentioned is if you want to know the error, you can use parentheses and then just type any variable or so, but I'm just going to type most of the time error. So, or you can just type e or anything, it really doesn't matter, but you can just have like that. It's like kind of like a parameter. And now what you're going to do is you're going to have your finally block, and this finally block is going to be always been executing no matter if it's an error or so, it's always going to be executed. So yeah, and it's gonna have some code. There we go. So it's basically gonna be all the time executed, and even it doesn't really matter about these things right here. Try catch, it really doesn't matter, but it's gonna execute always. So that's what I want to mention there. And these are the three things we're gonna use most of the time. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna be learning about the first two, and after that we're gonna include the finally block. So let's go ahead and start with the try block. So let's say I want to try some code, which is gonna give some error. So let's say the code should be like zero division error. So let's just go ahead and do let's go ahead and do something like this. Not zero division error. I'm just gonna say let a equals b. So we're basically declaring an a variable right here, but a is declared, but it's never read. I mean, it's basically saying b is not even existing. So yeah, and you can break this if you want, but I'm not gonna do it. And if an error occurs, you can catch it. So we can do it right here. Let's go ahead and catch the error, and we can pass so that we can know whatever the thing is. And inside this, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do something like this. So we're gonna do console.log. We're gonna get in our console, and we want to have something like this. So if you want to read it, what you can do is you can directly write the e. But instead, if you want to read the specific thing about it, like the errors object's name or something like that, or it might be message, so you can do that, or the property message. So yeah, so you can have separate e.name, something like that, and plus we're gonna have e.message. So that's how these things work. So it might be anything. So let's go ahead. Most of the time we're not gonna use it, but I just want to show you guys. So we're just gonna use e for now, and which is our variable right there, or our parameter. And now what we can do is we can go ahead and open with our live server. So let's go ahead and reload this. Inspect. Let's go ahead and inspect console, and there we go. So this is not an error. It's basically saying reference here b is not defined. So that's how this thing works. But e.name, let's try e.name. So it gives right there reference here. So that's basically the object's name. And if we want, we can use message. Let's go ahead and use message, and it's gonna say b is not defined because that's basically the message. But in totally, we're gonna use e. So let's go ahead and do that. So a reference error b is not defined, and that's what it says. So let's go ahead and do 10 divided by 0. And as you see, it doesn't give us an error because it cannot handle syntax error. So that's a problem right there. So it cannot handle it. But, oh, what if you want to handle, you can probably use if statements and stuff, and you can throw your custom exceptions, which I'm gonna be coming on in this video later. So now what we're gonna be focusing on is a finally. So this time we're going to be changing our whole code. So let's go ahead and do finally. I mean, this code does work, but still we would just want to change it. So what we can do is console.log. This finally block is just going to say I will execute always. Basically, it's just going to be coming on the log, or basically our console right here. It's going to be executing always, and we're going to be changing right here. So we're just going to be having let's go ahead and alert this. So alert, we can alert basically, so we can do in the try block. And what we can do is after this, normally it's not going to cause any error. It's not going to cause any error. It's just going to give us an error alert in the try block, and I will execute always. So that works. But if you want to make it cause an error or something like that, we can do something like this. Let a equals b, and this is going to cause an error in the try block. Reference b is not defined since we don't have e.name, and I will execute always. So that works. And let's go ahead, if you want to know if it's still inside the try block, what you can do is you can alert still inside the try block. So we are doing this after this, since this is the part where we know the error is gonna be caused. So we just want to know if it's still there or not. In the try block, which is our first thing right there, alert, and it didn't give us our second alert, still inside the try block, because an error is caused, reference error, b is not defined. So that's what it happens. And our finally block. And if I remove this, let's go ahead and remove the error thing, which is causing the errors in the try block. Still inside the try block, no errors, and I will execute always, which is a good code. So that's how this thing works, and this alert is basically gonna alert, or basically right here is just gonna give us an alert. So yeah, that's what I want to show you guys, and also I want to also mention the finally block. So yeah, so that's how this thing works. And now what we're gonna be doing is throwing our custom exceptions. So the reason why I use the word throw is, let's just say you want to make an error. So what you can do is throw, and if you really don't have any error, like any specific error, runtime error or so, you can do something like this. So you can have new error, and inside this you can just say so something, and let's go ahead and do that. And it really doesn't seem good like if you do this. So let's go ahead and do this in the try block, and it throw right here. So it's basically gonna throw a new error saying something. And error, it just said an error, and the name or the message is something. So we can also do this by name. Let's go ahead and fix this, not that. And there we go. So in the try block, and wait, let's do something like this. So we'll remove this alert right here since we don't need this, and there we go. So now that will kind of work. In the try block, error, and that's the name. I will execute always, and we can do message. And it's basically in the try block, and then it's basically gonna say something because the name itself is something. So if you have any runtime error or so, runtime error, you can do that. But since I don't have any, I don't want to. So yeah, but it really doesn't seem good if you throw an error that doesn't even make sense. So yeah, and yeah, you can also do something like range errors or so, because if the range exceeds or decreases or something like that, you can also make cause an error. So that's one of the errors. So that's how this thing works. And these try blocks are very important in JavaScript. I just gave you guys a basic like explanation of these. And if you guys want, you have to practice more. And these are very important. So that's it for today's video. See you in the next video. Until then, bye bye.